Hello and welcome to the Keto Man's Club podcast.
We're glad you're here, where each week we talk about men's health and lifestyle.
We do so with the foundation of the ketogenic diet and lifestyle.
If you don't know what keto is, stick around and you'll find out.
The podcast will bring you real, honest fun.
Each week we strive to uncover the tips and tricks that you can use in your everyday life to maximize your overall health.
Find the clearest path to becoming the best version of yourself that you were meant to be.
Greetings, everybody. Welcome to the Keto Man's Club podcast. Jim Inman here in the hot seat a little bit tonight as we interview our next member of the group here in just a couple of minutes. And you'll understand why I am doing that when we share who that is this week. As always, we have our the other two guys that help me out with the podcast. We have Chris Duckett and Berto. Gentlemen, how are you doing tonight?
Hot. Very, very hot. I'm out of town reporting from beautiful Houston, Texas, a few hours southeast, where we have equally as miserable heat as Austin, only with the benefit of the humidity from the Gulf. So yeah, it is muggy and it's triple-digit temperatures. And I'm working in a body shop, and I literally cannot get liquids in me fast enough for how much I am sweating.
Is this a standard Texas spring kind of thing, or are you experiencing higher temps, higher humidity than normal?
Surprisingly, it's lower than normal. I mean, usually we have this kind of heat a month ago, so it's been a mild spring leading into summer, but it's coming, and we're getting teased with very favorable temperatures before the real nasty stuff hits.
Woo! Well, Chris, hopefully it's a little bit cooler in your neck of the woods.
A tiny bit. Of course, I stepped outside of my house like 3 feet. Oh, no, I did actually go across the street to go get the mail. So yeah, it wasn't too bad. That's the nice thing about working from home is you don't really have to leave the house unless you just really want to. And so Texas heat isn't such a thing. It's just about as hot, but it is less humid. So that helps out a lot. A lot of the humidity got out of the air when a big storm system came through a couple days ago.
See, so you guys are in Texas. I'm in southern Indiana. We have had rain every day since, I think, Friday last week. So we're closing in on a week of rain. We had tornadoes hit my community over the weekend. We've had severe thunderstorms. We had torrential downpour, and our community lake is over a foot higher than normal. So consequently, there's all this water issue and stuff like that. It's welcome to weather in Indiana, where one day you can have beautiful sunshine, and then the next day you're under a tornado warning. But that's not why people are tuning in to the Keto Man's Club podcast.
Well,
Now
they don't want to hear
track. We've gone all Al Roker on everybody here, so we'll swing it back the right direction. So thanks for everybody who is dialing into the podcast this week, and we're going to talk about a couple things that have been going on with us before we turn it over to Chris. He is going to be our guest this week and talk about his keto journey and whatnot. So we're excited to add him to the list of our members from the Keto Man's Club on Facebook, sharing their stories and just telling all kinds of good stuff. So Alberto, Keto World in the last week or so, what's caught your eye? What's been going on? Any fun stuff? Any news? Anything like that at all?
Out of town for the most part. We went to a family event down in the Valley of Texas here. So for me, I mean, as far as keto stuff goes, it's just eating out a lot, but keeping it keto as I eat out, which is not difficult at all. It just requires a little extra focus and attention when it comes to menus. But other than that, I've been pretty much out of touch because I've been driving all over the eastern half of this giant state.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, lots of driving.
And then
go ahead.
Yeah, Chris. I was just going to say, Chris, what about you?
Well, I just spent 3 days cram-packed, like literally first flight out of Austin, last flight out of Little Rock, so that I could spend 3 days with the Keto Savage crew. And I did some video work, production stuff. Some of my videos are already up and more to come. And that's going to be kind of a regular thing for me. So it was really awesome. I got to get a really good leg workout in with Robert and his wife Crystal, and we ate some awesome steaks the first night, and then we had antelope heart loaf, meatloaf that was
Now,
made from heart, and it was amazing.
really?
Yeah, and that's actually going to be a recipe video, so I won't say anything more than that, other than watch for me to repost the video that's going to be posted in probably a week from now. We just posted the brick bark recipe video today as we're recording this. So yeah, it was a very productive, very cram packed, very few hours of sleep couple days, and then I flew back. I landed at 12:05 on Friday, and then I had to hit back into the normal swing of my normal work week of Friday, Saturday, Monday, Tuesday thing. So I kind of just had to dive right back into regular work. Not to mention that we have foster kittens that my wife got while I was gone. So it's
With your permission,
been a little. With my permission. She didn't. She did ask, "Can we?" And before I even left, for that matter. But yeah, this was one of those things that she was looking forward to doing, and she found the time to do it while I was gone. So yeah, they're cute and playful, and it's great to have them around. But sure does add just an extra. Hey, can we do this? And then the little suckers. There's one or two of them. If you open that we've got a play gym essentially built for them in a crate, and if you open that door, there's one or two of them that will bolt faster than lightning. And so you're luckily our full grown cat, he has gotten to the point where he herds them, and so he helps us find them and pull them back to the rest of the group.
That is
So
awesome.
It's been an interesting, very busy week, but all around was good. And the other reason I was there in Arkansas when I was because Robert wanted some help filming and trying to get some extra momentum for the launch of his apparel line, which went live this last weekend. And it's really, really cool stuff. And people should go to Live Savage Apparel and get stuff because it's really cool.
Excellent.
Yep, absolutely. So yeah, that was that's kind of it. And got to stay keto, and I actually ended up coming back, and I weighed less than I went. So that's always a good sign.
Good work. Good work.
Let's not blow past your squat PR.
Oh yes, squat PR, 275, 6 reps, and I probably could have done more, but I'm like, I don't want to break myself. So I cut it off there, but yeah, that was a pretty good squat PR, and I learned the value of the weight belt, and he taught me how to wear it and how to use it properly. So that was really helpful to me, and I will probably be investing in one so that I can continue to utilize that thing. I totally just undervalued what the weight belt can do for you for stabilization. But you can brace against the weight belt with your core, and that just gives you that much more stability as you go up and down. It actually works more muscle at least for what I felt at the time. So that was cool.
Well, since the last time we recorded, a couple things. One is that we crossed 2,500 members in the Keto Man's Club group on Facebook. So that is an awesome milestone to have achieved. We've seen all these great photos of the guys as we get into summertime and everything, and body transformations and whatnot. Seen some of our members who are a little bit older, 50s and 60s, who are utilizing keto in their daily life and seeing a lot of positive change. It's just an ongoing success story for all the guys in the group. So kudos to 2,500 members there. Somebody, and I can't remember who, and I don't have it in front of me, posted up a recipe of chicken tenders, if you will, wrapped in bacon. and you do some spices, you know, the salt, pepper, garlic, paprika, that kind of stuff. Throw it in a baggie. Then you throw the chicken tenders in there. Once they're good and coated, you wrap it in bacon. I think it's 425 for about 30 minutes or so. Oh my Lord! If you want happiness, if you want the sizzle, this is the way to go. This was my dinner last night and tonight. Two of those things, fantastic. I will say though that I have a Kroger grocery store near me, and they do this great pepper bacon. So it's already got a little bit of kick. And then when you add in a little cayenne pepper and a little garlic and a little chili seasoning or whatever you want to do, you can clean your sinuses out very quick with these things. So be mindful of how you do the seasoning and whatnot. But if you search us out, you can go to theketomansclub.com. You can find us on Facebook. The video's in there with the recipe and everything. Just search for the sizzle, I think was the hashtag that I threw in there. And you will be happy. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. So I think that's it for what's going on. Unless you gents have anything else to throw in before we start our interview discussion.
Say, you almost had me convinced to eat chicken.
So, Alberto, you don't even like chicken for all this keto way of eating and everything?
I really don't eat a lot of chicken. I mean, I eat chicken wings because I make them for my daughters. I eat chicken hearts, not that I enjoy them, but I mean, they are wrapped in bacon, and your recipe is wrapped in bacon, so I will definitely give it a go.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I'm sure there's some kind of spices that work well down in Texas. So just throw it all in there, give it a shot, let us know how it goes. But I can almost guarantee you chicken wrapped in bacon is going to put a smile on your face.
I will let you know.
Well, we're going to shift gears now, and we're going to do our interview of the week here on the Keto Man's Club podcast. And normally, Chris is the one who does the introductions and things like that, but Chris is in the hot seat this week. So one of our co-hosts here on the podcast, and he is also one of our admins for the Keto Man's Club on Facebook. He is the man who makes all of this happen. So, you know, Alberto and I, we talk and all that other stuff, but Chris is the one who makes the magic work and makes us sound good and puts this all together and everything. And I just wanted to start by acknowledging that and saying a tremendous thank you to him for the success of the show so far. So, Chris, welcome to the Keto Man's Club podcast.
Well,
Thanks
I'm
for
glad
joining
to be
us.
here. Yes. It's been my pleasure to get to work on this podcast. It's been something that's kind of been on the back of my brain for a long time, knowing that there really was a gap in this particular market where we really didn't have much to talk, much that was focused on men and men's lifestyle alone, combined with the ketogenic lifestyle. And so that's kind of the thing in the back of my brain. And then I kind of got with you guys, and now we're here, and it's awesome. It's great.
Yeah, it is. It is. So I mentioned when I introduced you, you are down in Texas. You're married, all this stuff. So give us a little kind of your backstory, so to speak, whatever you want to share about your personal life
Sure.
and who Chris is.
Yeah. So I grew up a full-on geek. I always have been, always will be. Probably borderline nerd for most of that time, meaning not cool at all. Uh,
You're
geeks can
cool now,
actually have
dude.
some
You're
cool.
totally cool
Yeah,
now.
yeah. Well, maybe, just maybe. But yeah, I grew up in Kansas City and had family all around the Midwest. So did travels around the Midwest for family and whatnot. But home was the Kansas City area. Um, Lived the normal 80s and 90s life. Was skinny as a rail most of my childhood. Hit middle school, still skinny as a rail, but I started to see some of the changes, and then really saw body changes and putting on some bulk and some size without really getting into the unhealthy side of things, just not really defined. In probably late high school, mid to late high school, I started putting that bulk on, and whatnot, and showing that I was going to actually be a larger guy, even whenever I'm fit. Um, that was me. I didn't ever have any worries about weight at the time. Didn't ever I didn't feel like I was metabolically out of sync. One thing that probably is worth mentioning is I am still to this day ADD, but I have just managed it without drugs since middle school. And so middle school came around, and I kind of just found I didn't like how I felt on them, and I asked my parents, can we skip this for now and see how it goes? And they supported me on that, and I've found ways to try to deal with it. But I will say one of my keto wins absolutely is that whenever I have a high level of ketones, I can tell, because my clarity of thought goes from rabbit, 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 rabbit to zero, like laser focused. I can get right in on one specific thing, and it's not a big deal for me. And that's something that I have had to work hard on without that, and have always had to use compensating techniques and things like that to try to deal with. So definite win in the keto world. I am 36, so I've done nearly 20 years of corporate technical support after doing a short ministry internship, year and a half, 2 years of that, and youth pastoring kind of threw in there before that. And that's really, but after that youth pastoring, getting into the corporate job, sitting in a desk talking to people all day on the phones or in chat, uh, that started to add up pretty darn quick, and that's when bad food habits started, and that's when the weight started to add, and I was never very active, but I became just completely inactive, at that point, and so ended up just kind of getting going through life, not really even realizing what was going on, and yeah, so that kind of that's at least leading up to my marriage, which happened 8 years ago. Gotta get that right.
Sure about that?
Gotta get that right.
Your wife is not in the room. No judgment.
No,
It's
she's
okay.
probably not listening to the podcast either. No, we got married 8 years ago, and I met her about a year before that, and we stayed in Kansas City for another year after we got married, and job opportunities for her and her profession weren't really that great in the Kansas City metro. And so we knew that she had connections down here, and I got transferred with the company that I was at the time to the Texas division, and we kind of up and moved in 10 days roughly.
Oh wow.
Which was, yeah, she didn't quite put in her 2 weeks at Panera. She's like, I have to be a full-time packer because he still has to work. So yeah, we moved over a weekend, and I was reporting for duty on Monday at the Texas division that following Monday.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
It was a whirlwind of a move. But yeah, that got us to Texas, and that's been very good for us, both career wise and whatnot. I currently work for Apple full time, doing tech support still, but with a specialty in the creative media side of things. All of our creative applications like Logic and iMovie and Photos and whatever, any of the Apple apps, I basically support those at this point. And so that's been a really great challenge, and I'm hoping to continue to increase those challenges as time goes by.
Awesome.
No, that's great. So how long have you been keto?
I started keto in February or March of 2017, so a little bit over 2 years now.
And in those 2 years, I should say prior to those 2 years, before you found keto, were you messing around with any other diets? Or how did you stumble across keto? That kind of thing.
Yeah, I was aware that I had gained a lot of weight, but I was kind of just happy-go-lucky, just bopping on through life most of my bachelor days, and even after marriage, I, was just kind of enjoying life. My wife is, as I've mentioned before, she's an incredible cook. She does incredible things with food, so it always tastes good, and she's always liked to work with high quality, as natural as possible as we could afford ingredients. And so we've always had good, fresh, well-made food, and primarily either eat at home or eat food that's been prepped at home. We're not eating out all the time, like a lot of families are, because she just enjoys cooking too much. And so that helped probably keep me from going into the morbidly obese. I could see myself going into getting way above 280 pounds had I continued on the track that I had been prior to meeting my wife. But it just wasn't enough to thin me out or get me truly healthy. And I became, as I started creeping up, and this is what kind of started my search in general, it was coming up on my 35th birthday, and I'm like, hey, wait, I want to live to 70 and not like have to like be in a hospital or rehab or something all the time because I can't move. I want to be vital. I want to actually like live life and be able to enjoy it, throughout my life. And it's also, to bring a spiritual aspect. I kind of got into this with one of our members in a chat the other day. At least I think it was one of our members. As a Christian, I'm supposed to be a steward of many things, and one of the things that I'm supposed to be a steward of is my body. It's a gift that was given to me. It was made by God, and I'm supposed to take care of that. And didn't take a very good care of it, and so it actually kind of was on both a practical and a spiritual conviction. I said to myself, I need to take care of myself a little bit better. And so I started being aware of that, but I probably fiddled with a few things. I think I tried Weight Watchers, the app, slash online thing for, a month or two. Didn't make sense. It just didn't click. I did try a stint of running and trying to train for the Warrior Dash that I ended up running with a friend, that I survived, and I literally survived. I think I may have shared it with the podcast, but the same day that I ran that Warrior Dash in Kansas City, being the hottest day of the year, like record breaking hot for that day. Two people actually died that day that had tried to run the Warrior Dash. So I literally have a T-shirt that says "I survived the Warrior Dash," and it's literal. I didn't do it well. I skipped most of the obstacles, but I did it. I made it through. But so I did try a few things. That's a very long-winded answer to that, but I did try a few things, but I didn't really try much because it didn't make sense to me. And in the small attempts that I made to do the move more, eat less thing, I just either felt like crap or couldn't stick with it, and I gave up in like 30 seconds. It never stuck for long. And so I found keto through the weirdest of places, a tech podcast. Somebody had mentioned to another of the hosts that that hey, how's your weight loss going? That keto thing's doing well for you, right? And they said yeah, and they didn't dig too much deeper, but these are people that I respected, and the guy who was doing it, he's a security specialist, but more than anything, he's a data scientist. He's not going to do something without really studying it. Like, this is a guy that really knows his stuff. So I listened to the podcast that they had, a special series of podcasts that these two people that had talked back and forth had previously recorded. I found it on the archive on his website, and he discussed his journey from standard American to paleo to keto, And it was all presented very much from the mindset of a data scientist of this is just this is the science, this is how it's broken down. And then the other part that he related was the Paleolithic way of eating. It kind of makes sense because if you think back, most of the things that we're eating today didn't even exist 150, 200, 300, let alone 1,000 years ago. And so I'm like, okay, if it's not listed in the Bible, it probably isn't something I should eat, type thing. And if I even look at
That's a good way to look at it.
again, yeah, well, and the other thing is the biblical example of even bread. Bread wasn't made every day. It wasn't something that they ate all the time. It was made just for special occasions. And so for me, like it was precious. There's actually a story in the Old Testament that exhibits that. And so just framing it that way, thinking if this didn't exist a couple thousand years ago, maybe I shouldn't eat it, or maybe I shouldn't eat that way. And so that caused my whole avalanche into studying and finding out about keto. I found dietdoctor.com. That became our keto Bible of sorts, because we use their visual guides to help me in the grocery store. Okay, is this vegetable okay or not? Is this fruit okay or not? Type thing. Those visual guides help me a lot. My wife and I both reference them a lot, and that it just kind of snowballed from there. Got into the Keto Evangelist group and started doing podcasting for them eventually. But yeah, that it just kind of has gotten into this snowball thing where at this point I've listened to thousands and thousands of hours of expert people talking about keto, and I probably annoy all of my friends and family whenever I start talking about it.
But you're walking the walk, which is also something that not everybody can do.
I certainly try. I have my shortcomings and my times whenever I've had effort moments, and I end up
Mm-hmm.
you know either giving in or whatnot. In fact, this last holiday season, I let loose a little bit, and I'm like, okay, I've got to live, and which I agree with. I think that we should be allowed to live some, but I totally let myself live a whole lot more than I should have, and gained some of my weight back, but at the same time, I don't feel too like it stopped at a certain point. That part was what I was excited most about, was rather than springboarding all the way back to 280, I went from like 215 low two teens to 230. So maximum that I
Mm-hmm.
regained was about 20 pounds. That's not bad. Like that could totally, that's, it stopped there. It didn't go beyond that. And so my internal thermostat, as Jason Fung would describe it, seems to have at least been turned down a little bit for my weight. And that I'm excited about. And I'm excited to keep pushing it down further and further. So yeah, I try to walk it as best I can, try to exhibit it without being, overly annoying with it at the same time.
So you talked about the benefits with the ADD and whatnot. Did you have any medical issues before you started into keto? Was there any heart? We've talked about heart with other guests, liver, general overall health. Did you have things in your medical chart that keto could help address in some way?
Yes, at least to a degree. I had already known that before, and this I probably I did a short bout of testosterone replacement with the doc that was my primary care at the time, where I'd have to go in and get a shot like every 2 weeks, and it just didn't really do anything for me. I later found out, now that I've been on it, that smaller doses more frequently leads to feeling a whole lot better a lot more often. And so that's what I'm doing now. My protocol is a lot better now, where I'm doing 2 shots a week. Um, which reminds me, I need to do mine later tonight. Uh, 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 But two shots a week for the testosterone replacement, and so that was a pre-existing condition. Keto can't help me a ton with that, but it makes it more effective because keto does definitely have an effect on hormone balance, with insulin being a master hormone and affecting all of the rest of the hormonal balance that we have in our bodies. So I do think that finding keto has helped me in this 2 years that I've been on testosterone replacement. It has helped me make that as effective as I possibly can. And so that's been good. That also has afforded me to get blood work as often as every 3 months. So I have had a lot of biomarkers, and I've tracked those in Heads Up Health. And it is interesting to see that my A1C has dropped. I was not diabetic, but a year and a half later, my doc's like, "Yeah, those first readings, they were kind of pre-diabetic. You know that, right?" And so I was on my way. I may not have realized it, but I was on my way. And so pre-diabetic, that's been reversed. My A1C is completely healthy at this point. I don't remember what it is right off the top of my head, but it's definitely within the healthy range now. I have regained wellness and fitness after I'd lost my first 40 pounds. I had so much energy and had so much, I just need to do something type thing, that I found myself waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning to get to a Camp Gladiator boot camp style outdoor workout uh, for 6 months. It's like
Wow.
it had you told me that that was going to be me, just a couple years before that, I would have said, "You're crazy, you're insane, I will never do that. That's not in my personality, that's not in my wheelhouse." And so yeah, I did that for about 6 months, and I've switched to lifting heavy, which I've continued now and dug back into these last few weeks now. I think we've probably been going almost 9 weeks with Alberto and I getting into the gym on a really fairly regular basis. And I've enjoyed that as well, which I would have never guessed. So health overall has definitely improved thanks to keto coming into my life. If nothing else, just providing me adequate energy to be able to find new levels of athleticism in myself that I never ever would have guessed were there.
Kind of like squatting 270, 265?
Yeah,
275, what was it?
275, 6 times.
275 6 times. That's a respectable amount of weight. And I'm gonna
Yeah.
take a step back one notch, because I don't want to blow past something that I found very fascinating about myself. I remember, like, when I was about 8-10 weeks into keto for the first time. Well, the only time for the most part. I didn't realize at the time that I was fat adapted, and I had my sister come down from Minneapolis with her family, and I was like, hey, I don't see them very often. Like, kind of like, hey, screw it, I've only been doing this diet for a while. Everything's going great, whatever. I'm just gonna do whatever I want. And like, she came down, I drank all the beer, ate all the pizza, we just kind of did whatever I want. She was only down for like 4 days. I gained like 5 pounds in those 4 days. And then, then she left. I'm like, I'll just hop back on. Now, like, I'm the type of person where I've never craved anything in my entire life. And when that week that I decided to just kind of go all out, like, for about 2 weeks after that, I had the nastiest, craziest cravings for just bread, like just plain white sandwich bread. And so my question is, like, when you kind of let yourself slip, did you find, and we've heard it from other people, like, when they try to get back on, that it is significantly harder, like, the second time around?
It really is, and I've even found that if I do quote keto approved sweet things, including, but very much definitely not limited to, Bang or Rain energy drinks. If I do that too often, if I have 2 or 3 in a period of a week, my cravings for sugar gets almost unstoppable, and I will find myself at the convenience store that I probably shouldn't be at all. And of course, the little Debbie's are probably right next to the protein bars, and I'll, lie to myself thinking, oh, I'll just get a protein bar. It's almost, it's not too bad. I'll get one of the good ones, and I'll walk out with a little Debbie. And so it's hard. It is legit hard to get back in. And honestly, weeks away, like the one that I had with Robert, helped because that just even in those couple days, because there was just no one, there was no time for it, and number two, there was just nothing in the building that was going to be problematic. Everything that they eat is extremely clean, extremely straightforward, and primarily carnivore. And we just it wasn't an option. So even just quick resets like that help a lot to assuage a lot of those cravings that you have. But it still happens, and coming through it the second time around, it's been hard for me to stay solid. Mainly, and some of it isn't even the cravings as much as it's the, oh, you gave in once, so, and you're not, it's not so bad. It's
It didn't hurt you
that
that bad.
lie. It didn't hurt me that bad. That lie that I've caught myself telling myself that, uh, yeah, it really actually is that bad though, because it's just going to perpetuate the cycle. It's going to keep things continuing to progress worse and worse, and it's not going to help me. It's not going to help me in the gym. It's not going to help me lose weight. And I should mention, my goal is not to be skinny as a rail or any specific weight. My goal is absolutely to have health, to be healthy and vital and moving freely for the remainder of my life, the remainder of my time on this planet, as best as I can. I want to live well and be able to enjoy life and be able to provide for my wife and my family, and be where I need to be when I need to be, and not be hampered by some medical condition that I could have prevented. And now that I know what I know, I can't go back, because the truth that I know on some level is that keto is a mini curing thing, a mini warding off thing. And so I can ward off most metabolic based diseases just by eating the way that I know that my body likes to be fed.
So when you've admitted, or you've said that you've listened to thousands of hours of keto information and whatnot. So when you decided that you were going to do this, was it a hard step? Was it a simple, let's just start eating meat and eggs and see what happens? And the reason I bring this up is because one of the things that we hear from a lot of the guys in our group is about their initial fears of doing it, that they were going to do it wrong. So tell us what you did and how you adapted to going from your pre-keto way of eating to following this way of eating every day.
Yeah. I feel like I adapted pretty quickly, and it just made sense. And then you tell me you can eat fried eggs and bake as much bacon as you want. Uh, that's a pretty easy transition for me. Like, I can do that. I can even give up pancakes for that, because I'm okay with that bacon. That type, that helps. But there were definitely moments, and it was actually probably harder for me to convince my wife to support me in it, not even necessarily to do it with me, but support me in it. And because she does do most of our cooking, because she was like, okay, but your arteries, they're going to get clogged up with all that fat, and you're this and you're that, and all of these legitimate concerns that she has, based on the way the low fat, limited calorie, move less, or move more, eat less, carb based standard American diet approach that has been preached for our entire life. She's a little younger than me. I won't say exactly how much, so that we can not tell my wife's age, but we're both about the same age, I'll say. And so we both grew up with the same Kraft macaroni and cheese box dinners, and hamburger helper that wasn't really that much help, and things that was what we grew up with. And so we, to her, she's thought that it was unhealthy, and so that was probably a harder hurdle to hit. But for me, the thing that really concreted it, that helped me, was early on, I remember feeling almost the switch flip, where it was just like, oh, there's that energy. I haven't known energy like that in a long time, type thing. And, again, my wife, she's very good at making food. So she made these recipes and she made them well. And so the food was just as enjoyable as the carb laden food. And so the food wasn't the deterrent so much at the beginning, as later on down the road, as the holiday season, and one piece of pie. It's, they made it special, and there aren't that many options here today. I should have fasted it out, to be very honest, or just had protein, that type of thing. But these things happen. It is what it is. You live and you learn and you get better, and I'll be better off next time and know not to give in. But yeah, the initial, you're seeing some of my ADD right there. I rabbit trail a lot. Uh, um, it's not gone. It's just controlled, semi-controlled. So initially, it felt like a pretty easy switch for me. I don't feel like it was something that I struggled terribly with getting started. And so, yeah. But I understand how it would be for a lot of people that don't have the resources that I had, because I had some really great resources.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't know. I've always had this feeling that like anyone who has, and you have a creative job, and obviously this, creating a podcast and what we're doing here is a creative job. But I've always had this feeling that anyone that has a job that involves a respectable amount of creativity has ADD in one form or another, because it just kind of helps you. It just takes you down these weird rabbit holes, and all of a sudden you come up with these ideas that you're like, well, I don't know how that came up, but here we are, and that's a great idea.
Exactly. I agree with that. And I don't see ADD as a disease anymore. I'm sure I did at one point in time or another. I see it as something that I can utilize at times. I do multitask rather well most of the time, as long
I
as it's
haven't
like
noticed.
multiple senses. Yeah. Yeah. I only have 3 computers up in front of me most of the time while I'm working. Only 3. Sometimes it's 5. But the yeah, I try to use it to my benefit most of the time, and I tell people I just have a multi-core processor, so I just switch off between tasks really quickly, and so and I do handle that pretty well. Um, and so I try to use it, and whatnot. But keto helps me actually use it better, because I don't have as many rabbit trails as I would have otherwise, and things like that. So yeah.
And you were
So
previously on medications for ADD?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat it? You broke up.
Oh, I said, and at one point you were on medication for it.
Yes, I was medicated during elementary, from second grade, whenever they finally got my diagnosis confirmed, through seventh grade, I think. I was on Ritalin and one of the other meds, and they weren't bad, but they weren't great either. They can make you feel a little numb, a little weird sometimes. I remember it was early on in fifth grade. Like, this is one of those memories that's like concreted in my brain. It was fifth grade, and must have been early on in the school year, because I just started taking the meds, I guess, and it threw me all out of balance. And one of my classmates, we did the whole, exchange, sheets, grade each other's paper thing. They were check marking everything like I'd gotten them wrong. And I was seeing them do this, and I'm freaking out because I knew I got it right. And normal human beings in normal times, they're like, okay, let's just see what happens. No, I ended up in a ball under my desk crying my eyes out, and ended up having to chill out in the hallway for a bit in fifth grade. That's not the normal emotional reaction of a fifth grader. And so that's just, these drugs, they throw you through all sorts of loops and hoops and things like that. Turns out she was turning them into stars later. It was like she wasn't marking them wrong. She was going to turn them into stars later. And so it's like, retrospect, 2020 vision, all that type of stuff. But, it, those drugs, they really can mess you up. And so I didn't want to be on those drugs for the rest of my life. And I don't want to be on those drugs now, even though there's been a couple times in my adult life that I've said, I probably should be on some. But I've avoided it and try to manage it as best I can. And like you mentioned, I get into creative tasks that I try to utilize those things for. And so yeah, I try to just use it to the best of my ability. And keto has helped me to channel that a little bit.
So, tell me about your daily routine in terms of your food plan. Do you do 3 meals a day? Do you intermittent fast? What's your keto way of eating today?
I've gone through all the different variations that up to OMAD. I think the natural balance that I have found is 16/8, uh, intermittent fasting. Sometimes it turns into 18 or 20, but I just kind of let my body decide on that usually, and listen to, okay, am I hungry or am I bored? Is the one question that I'll sometimes ask myself, especially on days off. Am I hungry or am I bored? Am I just wanting to eat because I'm not, hands busy with something because I'm waiting on other things to process on a computer or something?
Mm-hmm.
And that helps call myself back to, okay, am I actually hungry? And listen to my body instead of listen to my emotions of the moment. And but 16/8, and I'm not good at it. I do snack too often, even during that 16/8 window. I really need to probably push myself a little bit harder to get to where I am consistently just eating meal-sized meals during those 16/8 windows, the feasting window, because that's just more spikes of my insulin. And I saw a chart recently that every time that you eat, it takes 4 hours for your body to really switch back from glucose into fat burning. And I'm not sure how accurate that was, but that was from a pretty reliable source. I think it was at Ketogenic Girl on Instagram, and I found that interesting. The cycle of that it showed, 3 meals a day, even just 3 meals a day with a late night snack was enough to basically keep you in glucose burning mode all day long, pretty much. Like you were getting 3 to 4 hours of non glucose burning mode overnight with 3 meals. So I do believe, after reading the obesity code, which I highly recommend, I know that some of his Dr. Jason Fung's points aren't always well received by everyone, but I think that the standard premise of controlling insulin and cortisol levels, keeping those low, will cause you to lose weight, can be highly beneficial, because those two factors definitely helped me lose a whole bunch of weight, because I didn't start working out until I'd already lost 40 pounds. So it's, I think there's something to trying to limit those insulin spikes using intermittent fasting. And so I endeavor for 16/8, and I try to just keep it as clean as I possibly can. My snacks, my go-tos whenever I do snack, are either cheese whisks or cheese sticks, specifically the cheese sticks, because they don't have fillers and added anti-caking agents, because they're just a stick of cheese. And so I can get those. They're cheap. Get them at HEB, which is awesome here in Texas. I wish that we had that up in Kansas City whenever I was growing up, but it's a Texas thing. And so, yeah. Uh, but cheese sticks, cheese wisps are another good one, but they're a little more expensive. And jerky or venison meat sticks that I can get at the grocery store as well. That's usually my go-to. And the other thing that I don't remember if I mentioned it on the podcast or not, but I realized if I was craving cheese, it probably meant I wanted meat. My cravings don't necessarily tell me what I actually want, because I'll eat the cheese and I'll go, I still want some. And when I go to eat beef specifically, red meat, that was like, oh yeah, I'm good now. So I did do a month of carnivore last year, and it was a really great way to isolate and try to cut down a lot of that stuff. But I was doing animal product carnivore, so I was including cheese and dairy in that, and so I would eat the cheese and I would still want something. I would warm up some of my ground beef that was a staple during that month, and I would eat it and I would like, oh, that's what I needed. So that was an interesting little one-off uh, takeaway that I took during that time of isolating or cutting down my food options, was that if I'm craving cheese, I probably want meat.
Yeah, carnivores. It's an interesting thing because I did it for I think it was 6 months last year, and it's really weird because you talk. It's like super keto is really the only way to describe it. Like you think keto is awesome, then you go carnivore, and it's like keto to keto plus. And the funny thing for me is like 90% of what I was, which hasn't really changed now, but 90% of what I was eating was literally a steak. Not even as much egg as I'm eating now. And the crazy thing about that was like you would think you get sick of eating beef and steak, but all that ended up happening is the only thing I ever craved was more steak when I got hungry. Like it was like whenever I got hungry, I'm like, I want another steak. It was never, man, I'm hungry. I could go for chicken wings. It was always like, no, I'm hungry. I want more steak. It was a really really cool experience. I really enjoyed it until the one day where I just sat at a restaurant and ordered my steak, and they put the salad in front of me, and I'm staring at the salad, and I'm like, and I wasn't gonna eat it, and I'm like, man, it looks like a really good salad, and I'm like, you know what, like for me not to eat the salad just to claim that I'm a carnivore, like that's just dumb.
Yeah.
Like that
Yeah.
salad looks good. Everything in this salad is 100% like keto approved. Like I'm just gonna eat the salad,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's pretty much how my carnivore broke was because I was like I don't want to let this hard definition stop me from eating this meal that someone prepared for me.
Sure, sure. No, I'm the same way. My wife she with our food prep. This follows up with your question, Jim. Most of our food prep is some type of a protein and some type of green, and it's usually either kale or spinach or broccoli. Sometimes cauliflower. Those types of things are pretty pretty solid go-tos. An example of something that I did eat today that was probably a little higher on the carb spectrum, but because that was pretty much the only real thing that I'd eaten today, I went ahead and I just slammed it down and finished it off because it needed done. Was spaghetti squash with like sausage cut up in it, and it's really yummy and good and all that stuff. And for the most part, it's technically keto because that spaghetti squash is still on the lower side of the carbs, but I probably am technically over. But I don't beat myself up if my going over is from some type of vegetable. Like I'm not going to beat myself up over that. I could totally have dug into the Bluebell ice cream that's in the freezer that my wife had me get her the other day. Like seriously, I could have, but I didn't because that's not what I wanted. I wanted real food. I wanted something that wasn't sugary, and so I had something real. And that again is a freedom that I've had since keto that I don't think I ever had before, because I would give in to every single little craving that I had. Pints of ice cream, of real ice cream, would just disappear. At this point, pints of ice cream do disappear, but at this point, they're not even Halo Top; they're Rebel, which is basically 100% heavy cream. heavy cream and a little bit of erythritol and flavor. So like I don't even have to go to Halo Top anymore, which was something that I did early on as my sweet vice at times. But yeah, I've got a lot more freedom most of the time against just giving into, okay, what's in the freezer, what's in the fridge right now, and grabbing the closest thing, whatever it was.
That's awesome. Okay. So my last question for you, Chris, is how did you find the Keto Man's Club on Facebook?
So me and Alberto had known each other, at least passively. We weren't, best buds at that point, but we had known each other passively on the Ketogenic Athlete and Ketogenic Success groups, and around the Keto Evangelist world. We'd met at KetoCon last year. I'm guessing that it had to have been through him, but I forget what or how that came about.
It's
That would
okay.
make sense. That would make sense. I mean, if I'm trying to put the timeline back, I think that would make sense. I do remember that. Obviously, the first time we met in person was at KetoCon, which ironically is coming up. And it might have been through that.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, because I don't remember otherwise exactly how it was, and it could have been, the ads that you get on Facebook where it will show this person joined this group. It might have been one of those where it was like, oh, that sounds interesting. Like, it may have been an indirect thing where 2 or 3 of my Facebook friends had joined the group, and Alberto was one of them. So I was able to see that and like, oh, that looks interesting, and joined. But yeah, I don't remember exactly. I'm so glad that I did. That's for sure. Because this has been a fraternity of guys that I'm very happy to get to be around in a virtual sense every single day.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Alberto, anything else for you of our guest this week?
How do you feel about your training partner?
Now remember, this
pushes
call
me
is
too
being
damn
recorded
hard.
for quality assurance.
Oh, no, my training partner pushes me pretty hard, but we push each other, I think, and I am very definitely thankful for that, because I had hit a slump. I had hit the gym pretty hard for about 10 weeks myself, and did lifting whenever Crunch got open and all of that stuff. Uh, and went through a template, but I didn't know what I was doing. I was killing myself when I was doing my deadlifts. Most of the time I would end up, feeling like I'd broken my lower back after doing them, because I had done them wrong all along, because I didn't have anybody to help me correct that or point it out. And so we fixed that, and seeing his drive and intensity, and him sometimes, like when he's on the leg press sled going into wild man mode, sweating bullets, just pushing to try to make his numbers, that pushes me to not give up so much like I would have otherwise. Most of the time, just from a this is good enough type standpoint, that's not even in my mind anymore. I'm like, there's always something more that I can do. There's always some way more that I can push. There's a little bit more weight that I could add on. Okay, last week I did 45. Today I'm going to do 50. Those types of things. And he's been able to help get me some structure to my plan that I didn't have before, because all I was just doing was this template, but it wasn't really, I don't think it really did me that much good, because I wasn't applying it properly. I wasn't pushing myself hard enough. So yes,
I'll approve that answer.
I like him.
All right, last question I got
answer.
for you, because you've lived in Kansas City, you've lived in Texas. Who makes a better barbecue?
Why did I know that this was coming up when I heard Kansas City like 45 minutes ago?
Yeah. So my short answer is my wife, because she does both. She does
good, safe
she
answer.
does Texas barbecue with a Kansas City flair. Like,
Did not see that coming. Now I need to come over for dinner.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. You and the family will be invited over before the summer's over. I'm sure, and we will have my wife's barbecue, and it's delicious. Uh, and maybe I can talk her into try to ketofy her sauce because she makes her own sauce and it's delicious, but it has things like maple syrup in it and things like that that would not go well on a keto. So I think they could be simply modified and it would still taste good, but I'm gonna have to work on her on that. But yeah, she does do it kind of Texas barbecue with a Kansas City flair, and puts all the flavor into the meat via the smoke, and then takes it off the fire and adds the sauce, like Kansas City. And so it kind of is the best of the both worlds. The other answer that I give to that question is I see them as two completely different things. Kansas City barbecue really is all about the sauce. Texas is all about the meat itself being the star of the show. And so I just see them as two different things and try to enjoy the both of them as best as I can.
That is a phenomenal answer. I ain't gonna lie.
When you grow up in Kansas City, specifically because we're snooty about our barbecue, you become a barbecue connoisseur. Um, it's kind of a big deal. The every year there's the what's it called, trade show kind of thing. It's called the I'm completely blanking on it. Grand Royale or something. I'll figure it out later, I'm sure. But they have the horses and it's like rodeo for the Kansas City, but there's always a barbecue competition that goes along with that, and that's almost a bigger deal than the rest of the stuff that's going on in the arena. So okay, well that 55 minutes right there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, let's let's wrap it up before we head out. So, a couple of things that we always do at the end, kind of a couple acknowledgments of things we've seen in the Keto Man's Club on Facebook in the last week or so. So, Alberto, we'll start off with you. Anything jumped out at you? Any testimonies? Any successes? Anything you want to share about what we've seen in the group in the last week or two?
Yeah, I've got a couple of them. We had a member post just today, Travis W., who's apparently has a habit of texting his wife a selfie while he's at work, and apparently he did it again today. And so she sent
Yep.
him back a selfie of her that he had sent a year ago. And I mean, if the background is clearly they're both almost in the exact same spot. But he didn't put any of his numbers down, so I'd be really interested to see how much weight he actually lost. But the difference in the two pictures is significant, to say the least. And I mean, he looks great. Congratulations to him on that. Next time, Travis, you post, I just ask that. I just want to know, what your starting weight was and what your current weight is, because it shows in your face. It's there for sure. And other than that, everybody's good friend, the Mighty Oak, sent me a text message today. He is cleared for cardio within the next week or two, which is, that man's work ethic. So it's been driving him nuts that he's been kind of just stuck in healing mode ever since his surgery. So yeah, he was very excited to let me know that he'll at least be able to start doing cardio again here in the next week or two.
Good for him. He was he's one of our fantastic guests on a past podcast. So if anybody's listening and aren't sure of who we're talking about, go check it out and see what's going on for sure.
Yep, he's got a great story.
Chris, what about you?
Well, I don't have anything from the Facebook group, but I do want to call out one of the reviews that we've got. We've got several reviews, and this is kind of my intentional plug to, hey, go out, give us a review on Apple iTunes. We really appreciate your feedback. We want to know if we're doing a good job. Alberto wants to read the negative ones. So definitely, whatever the feedback might be, please go ahead and share it with us because we want to hear it. We want to know how we can do better and how we can better serve you, our listeners. But I want to highlight one of them from Bernie Video. And he says, great guys, great info, great podcast. I think it does GR ... So I'm just going to guess. Very happy to have found the Keto Man's Club on Facebook. It's been very helpful and supportive for me, and 2,000 plus more men in the keto lifestyle. Very excited now to hear the voices of the administrators and moderators of the group. I can't wait to hear more about the amazing success stories, different ways to live this diet, and all the laughs and good natured ribbing. So I think that was a good example of the type of thing that we're trying for, at least, and we want to keep that up.
Absolutely. Good deal. Well, the two that I wanted to quickly shout out, one is Matthew D., who posted up that he's coming up on his 1-year anniversary on keto. He's lost close to 70 pounds. His cholesterol's normal, blood pressure's normal, sugar's normal, off all meds, and, quote, most importantly, I finally feel comfortable in my skin. So kudos to Matthew on that. And then another member, Brian H., has been doing this, according to his post, 84 days, down 41 pounds, haven't cheated once. I gave up alcohol just 8 days ago, anxious to see what no booze does to my body. So he started in October of 2018 at 346. He started keto at the end of March of 2019 at 328. So he'd lost almost 20 pounds in that 6 or so months there. And then as of the middle of June, he's down to 287, and he's got a couple of side-by-side photos freeing the keto nipple. Again, keep up with our group, you'll know what that's all about. But he definitely went from looking like he was having triplets to a much, much smaller fella. So he's working on the plan and everything, and he's made significant progress just in the last couple of months doing keto. So congratulations to Brian H. on that step forward.
Well done. Well
I think
done.
the last thing, we always give out our contact information if people want to reach out and whatnot. So, of course, if you're following us on Facebook, well, that's one of the best starting points, the Keto Man's Club. We're also on Instagram, Keto Man's Club Podcast. So you can check us out there. And myself, Jim Inman Jr., Jim Inman Jr. on Instagram as well. Between the Keto Man's Club and Instagram, those are probably the two best places to find me. Alberto, what about you, sir?
First and foremost, through the Keto Man's Club. And on Instagram, I am Capital Painter, and where you will find a nice variety of information regarding cool car stuff, workouts, food. Yeah, that's pretty much about it.
Perfect. And then our guest of the week and our ship's captain, Chris. How do people track you down?
My keto stuff, I post generally to at Duckman Keto on Instagram, and I've got a Facebook page associated with that just because. And I don't post up enough stuff anywhere. So mainly just the Facebook group because I post there pretty regularly. And you can also follow my personal Instagram if you wanted. I'm just a geek, so who wants to follow that? But Duckman1221 is my standard handle on Instagram. So yeah, between those three, that's pretty much the best way to get in contact with me. Also, don't forget you can email us at let me get it correct, Keto Man's Club Podcast at gmail.com. And that's a great place if you have questions, comments, ideas, want to be on the show, whatever, email us and we will be happy to review those and get back with you.
And again, the Facebook group, 2,500 plus guys in there, all across the globe, who are following this way of eating. We're all at different points on the journey. So if you are interested in knowing more and whatnot, find us on Facebook. There are three very simple security questions that we just want to make sure that you know what you're talking about when you join in and everything. And make sure, as Chris mentioned a couple moments ago, to follow us on your favorite podcast platform. We love for you to subscribe, love for you to send us reviews. And Alberto is chomping at the bit for one negative review that he can read. So if you do want to
hopefully
be
I
negative,
don't ever have to read any of them.
Well, we want to give you at least something. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can't please everyone, so it's bound to happen.
This is true. This is true. So, and thanks to Chris, not only for making us all sound good and come together every week, but for being our guest this week and for sharing your story, man. Very much appreciated.
Absolutely. Happy to do so.
All right. Well, this wraps up this episode of the Keto Man's Club. Appreciate everybody for following us and everything. Subscribe, like, and give us a review and a shout out. We appreciate it, and we will talk to you the next time.
Thank you for joining us for the Keto Man's Club podcast. Your support means the world to us. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Would you help us spread the word about the Keto Man's Club by sharing with your friends and family? We're available on all podcast platforms, so just search for Keto Man's Club and you'll find us. If you would like to connect with us, you can do so a number of ways. Our web address leads to our Facebook group, theketomansclub.com. That's TheKetoMansClub.com. You can also follow us on Instagram at Keto Man's Club Podcast. Lastly, if you have any comments or questions, feel free to reach out via email to KetoMansClubPodcast@gmail.com. Thank you again for joining us today, and we look forward to hanging out with you again next week.